I thought my passion could melt her icy exterior. I thought whispering, "It's never a bother if it makes you happy," would be enough to warm her heart. Instead, she looked me dead in the eye and tossed my cheap affection, along with the specialty milk tea I'd gone way out of my way to buy for her, straight into the trash can. It was in that moment I finally understood. The gulf between us wasn't just the difference between a Porsche and a beat-up electric scooter. It was two completely different worlds, impossible to cross. People say you should give up on a chase you can't win, that you should let go of what was never meant to be yours. I just couldn't bring myself to believe that. My phone pinged. A new order flashed in the app's feed. It was from Chloe Winters. She'd ordered from that legendary taco spot way out in Pilsen, a place famous for its food and its insane delivery distance. The special instructions read, "No onions, extra hot sauce, and please hurry." A grin spread across my face. My fingers flew across the screen, snatching the order before anyone else could. Order confirmed. The guy next to me, another driver, shook his head. "You're nuts, man," he muttered, riding halfway across Chicago for one taco order. I didn't bother answering. What did he know? I twisted the throttle of my scooter, humming some stupid song I just heard on TikTok, and sped off toward Pilsen. On the way, I ducked into a trendy boba shop. "One oolong milk tea with salted cheese foam." I yelled over the counter. "Light ice, 30% sugar. And make it snappy." The girl behind the counter recognized me. She got to work, a smile on her face. "For your girlfriend again? You treat her so well." I beamed. "You know it. I might not have much, but I'm a world-class expert in spoiling my girl." The truth was, Chloe wasn't my girlfriend. Not yet, but I like saying it. If you say something enough, it starts to feel real. With the tacos and the milk tea secured, I carefully wedged the drink into a corner of my insulated delivery bag, patting it with my jacket to keep it from spilling. Then I was off, a blur of motion weaving through traffic all the way to her luxury condo building in Lincoln Park. The doorman, used to my sun-darkened face by now, just waved me through. I parked my scooter and took the stairs two at a time. Standing outside her door, I didn't ring the bell. I used my knuckles, rapping softly. "Your Majesty," I called out. "Your humble knight has arrived with tributes. Open up." A few seconds passed. Nothing. That was weird. I knocked again, louder this time. "Chloe? You home?" "It's me, Leo." The lock clicked, and the door was yanked open. The Chloe standing there was not the smiling girl I'd pictured in my head. She was wearing a black silk slip dress that made her skin look as white as snow. Her long hair was a mess, her eyes were red-rimmed, and her stunningly beautiful face was twisted into a mask of cold, broken fury. She just stared at me, silent. The apartment was a disaster. A shattered glass lay on the floor, throw pillows were scattered everywhere, and the faint smell of alcohol hung in the air. A rock dropped in my stomach, but I forced my usual grin. I held out the bag. "Hey, who pissed off the queen today? Come on, let's get some food in you. Look, your favorite tacos. And your favorite tea, 30% sugar, just how you like it, remember?" I started to step inside, planning to tidy up the mess. This was our dynamic. She'd have a meltdown, and I'd be the one to calm her down. Chloe didn't move. She didn't take the food. "Leo," she finally said, her voice a raw whisper, "do you think I'm that easy to please?" "Of course not," I said, still trying to play it cool as I set the bag on the console table by the door. "My Chloe has the sweetest temper. She just needs a little extra care sometimes." I reached out to touch her cheek, my usual move to disarm her. It always worked, but this time, she jerked her head away. "Don't touch me," she said, her voice like ice. My hand froze in midair. I felt a flush of embarrassment, but kept the smile plastered on my face. Okay, no touching. But you should eat something. Getting angry on an empty stomach is bad for you." She looked at me, and a strange, cold smile twisted her lips. It was pure mockery. Then, she did something I never expected. She reached over, picked up the milk tea from the console table, glanced at it, and dropped it into the wastebasket. That drink I'd gone out of my way for, that I'd protected like a Faberge egg the whole ride over. Gone. The smile finally fell from my face. "Chloe, what the hell is your problem?" I snapped, my own anger flaring. She turned and walked slowly toward me, her beautiful eyes filled with a terrifying, absolute resolve I'd never seen before. "My problem?" She let out a short, sharp laugh. "Yes, I have a problem. But what about you, Leo? A DoorDash driver, following me around like some pathetic clown, bringing me food, telling me jokes that aren't even funny. What do you think you're doing? Playing the part of the devoted knight." Her words were knives, each one striking a hidden insecurity. I put on a happy-go-lucky front, but my biggest fear was people looking down on me in this uniform. Especially her. "I do it because I want to." I shot back, my voice defensive. "I like you. What's wrong with trying to win you over? How is that bothering you? Like me? She laughed harder, and this time, tears welled in her eyes. You don't even know why I'm upset. What gives you the right to say you like me? Because you snag a few delivery orders? Because you bring me a cheap cup of tea? Leo, your affection is worthless. She stepped right up to me, stood on her toes, and whispered in my ear, her voice a deadly quiet meant only for me. Get out. Take your worthless affection and get out of my world. Then, bam, she slammed the door in my face. Fine, Chloe. You win. I yelled at the closed door before turning and stomping away. I got to the elevator and stopped. Had she fought with her family again? A bad day at work? Usually when she threw a fit, I could talk her down. This time, it was probably the same. I pulled out my phone and sent her a text. Make sure you eat the tacos before they get cold. You could be mad after you eat. I hesitated, then added another message. I'll be downstairs. Call me when you cool off. I didn't leave. I got back on my beat-up scooter and parked it in the shadow of a large oak tree across the street from her building. I lit a cigarette and stared up at her balcony window, a single point of light in the growing darkness. It's fine, I told myself. Women are complicated. She's just having a bad day. She's a little high maintenance, a little crazy, but she can't live without me. In this whole city, I'm the only one who can handle her. I finished one cigarette and immediately lit another. I just wait for her to calm down, and I'd fix it. I always did. I waited under that oak tree as dusk bled into night. I unlocked my phone again and again, but the screen remained dark. My last two texts sat there, delivered but unanswered. The anger simmering inside me slowly gave way to a knot of anxiety. Chloe could be dramatic, even a little unhinged, but she'd never left me hanging like this for so long. She was like a child who throws a tantrum and tosses her favorite toy, only to come back crying for it moments later. I was debating whether to go back up and knock again when a pair of headlights, bright but not harsh, sliced silently through the quiet of the complex. A black Porsche Panamera, sleek and predatory as a panther, glided to a stop in front of her building's entrance. The driver's door opened, and a man stepped out. He wore a tailored gray suit, no tie, with the top two buttons of his shirt undone, a look that was effortlessly formal and casual at the same time. On his wrist was a watch I couldn't name, but knew was expensive. Everything about him, from his perfectly styled hair to his polished leather shoes, screamed elite. He was the exact kind of guy I hated. In envy, I instinctively shrank deeper into the shadows of the tree, as if my blue DoorDash jacket was something shameful. The man didn't go inside right away. He leaned against the car, glancing down at his phone. A few seconds later, the front door of the building opened. Chloe emerged. She'd changed out of the black silk slip and was now wearing an elegant cream-colored dress. Her hair was pulled back, revealing the long, pale column of her neck. The frantic, broken look was gone, replaced by a serene, placid beauty I'd never seen before. She had put on light makeup, hiding any trace of her tears. She looked like a priceless porcelain doll that had been meticulously restored. And just like that, she walked toward him. The man naturally opened the passenger door for her, his hand hovering protectively over the roof of the car so she wouldn't bump her head. Chloe ducked inside, without a single glance in my direction. I wondered if she even knew I was there. He closed her door, walked around to the driver's side, and the car started again, as silent as it had arrived. It merged into the flow of city traffic and disappeared. The whole time, they hadn't exchanged a single word. But their silent, practiced ease was like a dull knife sawing back and forth across my heart. Get out. Take your worthless affection and get out of my world. Her words exploded in my head again. It hadn't just been angry words. She wasn't waiting for me to comfort her. She was waiting for him to pick her up. My ridiculous, arrogant certainty that she couldn't live without me was crushed into dust under the smooth tread of the Porsche's tires. I jumped on my scooter, twisted the throttle, and tore after them like a madman. I didn't know why I was chasing them. To confront them? To start a fight? Or maybe just to see for myself exactly how badly I had lost. I followed the black car across half the city. It wasn't driving fast, and I managed to keep up, a desperate parasite weaving through traffic, trying to keep the sleek machine in sight as it changed lanes gracefully and turned smoothly. Finally, the Porsche pulled up in front of an expensive-looking French restaurant on the Gold Coast. A valet in a crisp uniform respectfully opened their doors. I parked my scooter across the street, hiding in a dark corner like a thief. Through the massive plate glass window, I watched them. They were seated at a table by the window. The man pulled out her chair for her. She smiled at him, and that smile broke me. It wasn't the demanding, slightly spoiled smile she sometimes gave me. It wasn't the polite, dismissive smile she'd give when one of my bad jokes actually landed. This was an easy, gentle smile. It was like a spring breeze rippling across the surface of a calm lake. How long had it been since I'd seen her smile like that? Had I ever? All my efforts, all my caring gestures, were probably just like junk mail to her. Cheap and in the way. And this guy, he did nothing. He just sat there, and he could draw that kind of beauty out of her. I finally got it. We weren't just from different worlds. We were from different universes. I pulled out my phone and opened my texts, staring at her contact photo, the one I looked at a dozen times a day. I typed out a single sentence, letter by letter. I wish you happiness. Then, I pressed the button. Delete contact. The moment I deleted Chloe's contact, it felt like someone hit the mute button on the world. I didn't look back at the restaurant. I just got on my scooter and started riding, with no destination in mind. It's just a woman, I told myself. Plenty of fish in the sea. Out with the old, in with the new. I repeated all the useless, comforting cliches in my head, over and over. When I got back to my rented room in Pilsen, the smell of stale instant noodles hit me. The place was tiny. A bed, a desk, and a closet were all it contained. A wrinkled world map I'd bought when I first moved to Chicago was still taped to the wall, a reminder of my grand ambitions to make a name for myself in this city. It seemed pathetic now. I threw myself onto the bed and stared at the water-stained ceiling, my mind filled with Chloe's face. The way she smiled at me, the way she got angry, the way she'd wrinkle her nose and say, "Leo, you're so basic," and the way she'd clumsily try to make me ginger tea when I had a cold. So, it wasn't all bad between us, but thinking about the good times now only made me feel like a bigger fool. I shot up from the bed. I couldn't keep thinking about her. If I did, I'd turn into one of those pathetic guys who falls apart over a woman. I grabbed my phone and opened the group chat with the other drivers. It was buzzing. Someone was showing off their earnings for the day, another was complaining about a crazy customer, and a few were planning a late-night hangout. I typed out a message, wings and beer at the corner spot. My treat. Who's in? The chat exploded. Leo's hitting the lottery. Is the sun rising in the west? Leo's buying. I'm in, Leo. Count me in. I looked at the messages flooding my screen and managed a weak smile. Half an hour later, 8 of us, all in our blue delivery uniforms, were crowded around a sticky table at the Smoky Dive bar at the end of my block. Beer bottles clinked, and the sizzle of chicken wings mixed with the smell of cheap beer and desperation. It was the scent of my life. To Leo, a younger kid named Ricky shouted, raising his bottle. Thanks for the grub, man. I clinked my bottle against his and chugged the entire thing. The cold beer slid down my throat, momentarily dousing the fire in my chest. What's up with you, man? You seem off. Sal, an older driver I was close with, leaned in and asked. Fight with a rich girl? In our circle, my pursuit of Chloe was no secret. Most of them thought I was crazy, that we were from different planets, but they never said much, seeing how into it I was. I let out a harsh laugh and cracked open another beer. We broke up. I said it casually, as if I were talking about someone else. Broke up? Sal froze for a second, then clapped me on the shoulder. Good for you. I told you, man, those high-maintenance girls are nothing but trouble. A regular guy like us, we just need a regular girl. Settle down, have a normal life. Exactly, someone else chimed in. A guy like you, Leo? You're good-looking, you're a decent dude. You'll have no problem finding a girlfriend. I'll set you up with my cousin. Yeah, my sister-in-law is single too. They all started talking at once, comforting me, offering to set me up, as if my breakup was the best news they'd heard all year. I smiled and nodded, drinking one beer after another. I knew they meant well, that they wanted me to move on, but they didn't understand. What was between Chloe and me couldn't be summed up with a simple, it wasn't a good fit. I really thought I could melt that iceberg with my persistence. I thought I could cross that invisible divide. I thought my affection was something special, something unique. Turns out, I was just a distraction in her boring life. A clown she could summon on a whim. The novelty had worn off, and it was time for me to exit the stage. The more I drank, the heavier my head got, but the more I started bragging. I told them I've been wanting to break up for a while, that I was going to focus on my career now, make big money, buy a car or house. I told them to just wait and see. I talked so much crap, I almost started to believe it myself, until my phone screen lit up again. It was a notification from the delivery app. New order. User Chloe has placed an order from Pilsen Taco House. Special instructions. No onions, extra hot sauce, and please hurry. That familiar address, those familiar instructions. It was like a needle instantly popping the giant bubble of booze-fueled bravado I had inflated around myself. I froze. What? Why was she ordering again? Wasn't that guy with her? Or was it just a habit? The phone sat on the table, the order notification hovering at the top of the screen for a few seconds before disappearing. I didn't lunge for it like I always did. My fingers wouldn't move. Leo, what are you staring at? Ricky leaned over to look. Another one from the princess? You gonna take it, or what? I picked up my beer bottle and took another long pull. My throat burned. No, I heard myself say, my voice raspy. Let someone else take it. Sal glanced at me, sighed, then quietly pulled out his phone and accepted the order. He stood up and patted my shoulder. You keep drinking, man. I'll go run this one. I didn't say anything. I just watched him get on his scooter and disappear into the night. A wave of bitter laughter rose in my throat. I thought deleting her number, cutting off contact, would be enough to erase her from my life. But I forgot. Our connection wasn't just in my phone. As long as I was a delivery driver in this city, I could never truly escape her shadow. Every order I delivered might take me past her building. Every restaurant I went to might be one of her favorites. That night, I got blackout drunk. When I woke up the next day, my head was splitting. My phone was full of missed calls and texts from my dispatch manager, asking why I hadn't shown up for my shift. I dragged myself out of bed and looked in the mirror. The man staring back at me had bloodshot eyes, a scruffy beard, and a look of utter defeat. Leo, you're so damn pathetic. Then, I took a cold shower, shaved, put on a clean uniform, and got on my scooter, my warhorse. I merged back into the river of city traffic. In the days that followed, I turned myself into a money-making machine. I stopped being picky about orders, stopped cracking jokes with the restaurant staff I knew. My life became a simple, brutal loop. Wake up, grab orders, pick up food, drop it off. The only sound in my world was the ping of the app and the rush of the wind. I filled every second of my day, leaving no room for my mind to wander. My daily earnings climbed, and my wallet started to feel thick for the first time. The other drivers said I'd changed, that the cheerful Leo had been replaced by a silent, grim workaholic. They joked that a broken heart was the fastest way for a boy to become a man. I just smile and say nothing. Only I knew the price of growing up so fast. It was the dull ache in my chest late at night, the way I'd instinctively look away whenever I passed a boba shop, the sharp pang of shame I felt whenever I heard someone mock my slight accent. Chloe Winters had become a ghost that haunted my every move. I thought I had buried her, but she kept popping up in the corners of my life, reminding me of how foolish I had been. About 2 weeks later, on an evening when rain was coming down in sheets, I accepted an order for Northwestern Memorial Hospital. No one else wanted to ride in that weather, but I did. The rain hammered against my helmet, a relentless drumming that felt like it could shatter all my thoughts. I delivered a container of hot soup to one of the inpatient floors. As I was leaving, I saw a familiar figure huddled in a corner of the main lobby. Chloe. She was sitting on a cold, hard bench, still wearing that same cream-colored dress, though the hem was now stained with mud. She wore no makeup. Her face was as pale as a sheet of paper. She had her arms wrapped around herself, looking small and fragile. The man with the Porsche was nowhere in sight. None of her glamorous friends were there. She was completely alone, a butterfly caught in a storm. My first instinct was to hide. Get out of here, Leo, my brain screamed. Don't get involved. Her life has nothing to do with you anymore. But my feet felt like they were encased in lead. I couldn't move. I watched as she periodically glanced up toward the doors of the emergency room, her eyes filled with a terror and anxiety I had never seen on her face before. With me, she was always the one in control, the one looking down from on high. After a long moment of hesitation, I found myself walking toward her as if pulled by an invisible string. She didn't seem to notice me until my blue, rain-dampened company jacket appeared in her line of sight. She slowly looked up. When she saw my face, her beautiful eyes widened first in shock, then clouded over with a complex emotion I couldn't decipher. There was surprise, shame, and a flicker of vulnerability. "You," she started, her voice hoarse. "It's raining. It's cold. Put this on," I said, stuffing the jacket into her arms. My voice was as hard and stiff as a rock. "Don't want you freezing to death." I avoided her eyes and turned to leave. I had done my part, my final act of decency. "Leo." Her voice stopped me. I paused, my back still to her. "What are you doing here?" she asked. "Delivery," I said, my voice clipped. It was my job, my life, my everything. A long silence stretched between us. "Did you?" She began again, her voice trembling. "Did you see everything?" I knew what she was asking about. That night, the Porsche, the man. I turned around and faced her for the first time. I looked at her pale face, her red-rimmed eyes, and the wall of anger and indifference I had built around my heart began to crack. I forced a smile, a grimace that was uglier than crying. I mimicked the cold, dismissive tone she had used on me. "See what? See that the great Chloe Winters finally found someone who's actually in her league? Congratulations." Chloe's face went even whiter. She bit down hard on her lower lip. "It's not like that," she mumbled, as if trying to convince me, or maybe just herself. "Hey, my father set us up. My mom's sick. She's in there now. They're trying to save her. I froze. So she wasn't waiting for him to pick her up for a date. She was waiting for him to take her to the hospital. She hadn't found her happy ending. She was trapped in another nightmare. I looked down at my cheap, company-branded jacket, clutched tightly in her hands. That ugly blue jacket with the delivery service logo. She was holding on to it like it was a life raft. A storm of emotions churned inside me. For a split second, I wanted to rush forward to pull her into my arms and tell her not to be afraid, that I was here. But reason yanked me back. Who do you think you are, Leo? How could you possibly comfort her? With your beat-up scooter? With your paycheck that barely covers your own rent? Her mother is in a VIP wing. You can't even afford one night of that. A tidal wave of shame washed over me, cold and suffocating. I took a deep breath, shoving down every feeling that threatened to surface. My voice was devoid of all warmth. That's your business. It has nothing to do with me. I turned and walked out into the downpour without another word. I didn't look back, but I could feel her eyes on me, following me until the rain swallowed me whole. I got on my scooter, twisted the throttle, and sped into the storm. I thought I had moved on. I thought I didn't care anymore. But seeing her so alone, so helpless, my heart still ached. It turned out that deleting a contact and blocking a number were just ways of lying to myself. As long as she existed, as long as the slightest bit of news about her reached me, this heart I pretended was made of stone would shatter all over again. That run-in at the hospital made it impossible to get her out of my head. I kept seeing her pale face, the way she clutched my cheap jacket like a lifeline. Her mom was sick. She must be terrified. Was that Grayson guy taking care of her? The thoughts were like weeds, choking everything else in my mind. I cursed myself for being so weak, then find myself standing in front of a pharmacy on my delivery route, staring at the prices of expensive health supplements. Life went on like that, a tangled mess of contradictions. Then one day I got a call from Sal. He sounded panicked. He'd gotten into a minor accident. His scooter had scraped a car, and while he was fine, the driver was refusing to let him leave, demanding $2,000 in cash. Without a second thought, I jumped on my scooter and raced over. The accident was at an intersection on the west side, not far from Chloe's neighborhood. When I got there, Sal was arguing with a flashy, heavily made-up woman. Next to them was a white sedan with a faint scratch on the door. I took one look and knew what was happening. It was a shakedown. What's going on? I asked Sal. Leo, man, I was just going straight through the intersection, and she cut me off, swerved right into my lane. I swerved to miss her and just grazed the door. Now she's saying it's all my fault. Wants $2,000. Sal looked miserable. I clapped him on the shoulder. Don't worry about it. I turned to the woman, putting on my old, familiar, people-pleasing smile. Ma'am, look, it's a hot day. No sense getting worked up over a little scratch. We're just working guys, trying to make a living. That mark doesn't look too deep. A little touch-up paint, maybe a few $100. Tell you what, give us a number, we can settle it right here. You save the hassle. We learn our lesson. What do you say? I kept my tone respectful, my posture non-threatening. With people like this, aggression gets you nowhere. The woman looked me up and down, her eyes lingering on my delivery uniform with disdain. A few hundred? Are you kidding me? Who do you think you're talking to? This is a brand new car. Do you have any idea what it costs? $2,000, or I'm calling the cops. And this isn't going away today. Her voice was shrill, attracting stares from passersby. My smile faded. I kept my voice steady. Ma'am, let's be reasonable. There's a traffic camera right there on the corner. We can check the footage, see whose fault it really was. If it turns out you were at fault, this starts to look a lot like extortion. Are you threatening me? Let me tell you something. You're not going anywhere until you pay up. She pulled out her phone, looking like she was about to make good on her threat to call the police. I was racking my brain, thinking we'd just have to let the cops sort it out, when a cool, familiar voice cut through the air. Mrs. Davenport, you seem rather upset. My entire body went rigid. I whipped my head around. Chloe was standing on the sidewalk just a few feet away. She was dressed in a sharp business suit, her hair pulled into a high ponytail. She wore immaculate makeup, her eyes sharp, her presence commanding. This wasn't the volatile beauty from the apartment or the fragile girl from the hospital. This was a queen, radiating an aggressive confidence I had never seen before. Standing beside her was the man with the Porsche, Grayson Vance. He glanced at me, a flicker of contempt in his eyes. The woman, Mrs. Davenport, saw Chloe and her belligerent attitude vanished. A sycophantic smile spread across her face. Oh, Miss Winters, what a coincidence. Are you just? Chloe ignored her and walked directly to me. She looked down at me, her gaze pausing for a split second on my sweat-stained uniform before landing on my face. Do you need help? She asked. Her tone was flat, unreadable. My neck stiffened. No, I bit out. Chloe seemed to have expected that. She didn't look at me again. Instead, she turned to Mrs. Davenport, a cold smirk playing on her lips. Mrs. Davenport, if I recall, your husband's firm just landed a rather significant contract with my father's company last month. Is it really worth jeopardizing Mr. Davenport's reputation and causing a scene over $2,000? Mrs. Davenport's face went pale. Chloe pressed on, her voice quiet but each word landing like a hammer. And funnily enough, from where I was standing, it looked like you were the one who made an illegal lane change. Imagine if I sent the dashcam footage from my car over to your husband. What do you suppose he would think? The woman was in a full-blown panic now, waving her hands frantically. Miss Winters, you misunderstand. I was just joking around with him. I wasn't going to actually take his money. It's fine. My bad luck, that's all. She shot me a venomous glare, scrambled into her car, and sped away. Just like that, with a few quiet words, the whole mess was over. I just stood there, a strange taste in my mouth. It wasn't gratitude. It was a deep, gut-wrenching shame, like my skin had been peeled back for everyone to see. She had solved my problem using the power of her world, and in doing so, had thrown the vast, uncrossable chasm between us into stark relief. Thanks, I mumbled, staring at the ground. Don't mention it. Chloe's voice was still cool. I just don't like seeing people I know get pushed around. People you know? I looked up, a bitter laugh escaping my lips. Miss Winters, you actually associate with delivery guys like me? My words were barbed, and I knew they sounded ugly. I just couldn't stand her seeing me, so helpless. Chloe's eyes flickered, and her perfect eyebrows drew together in a slight frown. Grayson stepped forward, positioning himself between us. He looked at me with an appraising stare, his tone gentle but firm with undeniable authority. Leo, is it? Since the matter is resolved, we'll be on our way. Chloe, let's go. He reached out to place a hand on Chloe's shoulder. As his fingers brushed against her, Chloe flinched, a tiny, subconscious movement to the side. It was almost imperceptible, but both Grayson and I saw it. Grayson's expression darkened instantly, and my heart gave a sudden, violent lurch. I saw it then. The picture-perfect couple wasn't so perfect. A hairline crack in their flawless facade had just been exposed, right in front of me. Chloe seemed to realize her mistake. She said nothing more, just gave me one last, deep look. Then she turned and got into the black Porsche. Sal walked over, clapping me on the shoulder. Man, was that really your ex-girlfriend? She's a badass. I didn't answer. I just stared at the spot where the Porsche had disappeared. That crack in their relationship was like a lightning strike in my mind, illuminating a world I thought had gone completely dark. I started working like a man possessed. But this time, it wasn't to numb the pain. It was to make money. I didn't know what money would do, what it could change, but I had a primal instinct that it might get me 1 millimeter closer to her world. I stopped avoiding the West Side. In fact, I started intentionally lingering in her area, like some amateur private eye, trying to piece together the real her from the scraps and clues of her life. I saw her leaving a fancy restaurant with Grayson, a polite, professional smile plastered on her face, distant and detached. I saw her alone in a 7-Eleven late one night, holding a cup of coffee and staring out the window, her silhouette radiating loneliness. I saw her drive to the hospital, park her car, and just sit there for a long, long time before finally, wearily, pushing the door open. She was not happy. One day, I took another delivery to her building for a different resident. I was walking out of the lobby when I saw her. She was leaning against her little red sports car, arguing with Grayson. I was too far away to hear the words, but I could see Chloe's face was flushed with anger, her arms gesturing wildly. Grayson looked impatient, his brow furrowed. As the argument escalated, Grayson suddenly grabbed her wrist. Chloe struggled, her face a mask of fury and disgust. In that instant, a roar went off in my head. All reason, all awareness of the gap between us evaporated. I dropped my scooter and sprinted toward them. Let her go, I yelled at Grayson. My sudden appearance startled them both. Grayson saw me, his expression shifting from surprise to the indignation of a man whose authority had been challenged. He let go of Chloe's wrist and calmly straightened his cuffs, his eyes cold as he fixed them on me. Mr. Martinez, this is a private matter between us. It has nothing to do with you. She doesn't want you to touch her, so you don't get to force her. I stared him down, feeling like a cornered animal. Force her? Grayson let out a short laugh, as if I'd just told the world's dumbest joke. Am I forcing her by having a conversation with my fiancé? Fiancé. The word was like 3 nails hammered directly into my heart. I looked at Chloe. Her face was pale, her lips pressed into a thin line. She didn't deny it. My heart sank. Grayson seemed pleased by my reaction. He took a step closer, looking down at me with the air of a victor, his voice dripping with superiority. Leo Martinez, right? I had you looked into. A delivery boy from some forgotten town. Thinks he can win over a woman like Chloe with nothing but blind passion and a refusal to take a hint? Do you have any idea that the money you make delivering a single milk tea wouldn't even cover an hour's depreciation on this suit? He paused, his gaze raking over me like a blade. You work day and night in the rain and the heat. Your absolute best-case scenario is what? Becoming a shift manager for a couple thousand a month? I can close a single deal that would buy a house you couldn't afford in 100 lifetimes. What do you have to compete with us? Your cheap affection? Your pathetic pride? Every word was a precision strike against my deepest insecurities. I clenched my fists so hard my nails dug into my palms. I wanted to fight back, to say something, but the words wouldn't come. Because everything he said was true. All my effort, in his world, was a joke. Just as the humiliation was about to drown me, Chloe spoke. Grayson, that's enough. Her voice was quiet, but it held an icy, non-negotiable command. I don't need you to fight my battles for me. And for the last time, I am not your fiancé. Without another glance at me, she turned and walked away. Chloe. Grayson started after her, but I stepped in his path. Didn't you hear what she said? Grayson's patience finally snapped. He shoved me hard, sending me staggering back a few steps. You're a piece of trash from the gutter. Who are you to lecture me? He adjusted his tie, his contempt unconcealed. Stay away from her. You are not good enough for her. He then walked off in the direction Chloe had gone. I stood there, watching them disappear. You are not good enough for her. The words echoed in my head, a haunting curse. I looked down at myself, at my mud-splattered jeans, my sweat-soaked uniform, my worn-out sneakers that had pounded countless miles of pavement. He was right. What did I have to offer? But, just because I wasn't good enough, did that mean I couldn't love her? Did that mean I deserved to be trampled on and humiliated? A rage and a sense of defiance I had never felt before surged up from the depths of my soul. I didn't bother picking up my scooter. I turned and walked in the opposite direction. I walked into a real estate office. I said to the stunned-looking agent. I'd like to rent a decent apartment, somewhere around here. Next, I walked into a driving school. Hi, I want to sign up for lessons. The fastest course you have. I couldn't live like this anymore. I wouldn't spend the rest of my life in this blue uniform, on this beat-up scooter, letting people point at my face and call me trash. That night, I didn't go home. I rode my scooter all the way to the lakefront. I stared out at the vast, dark water of Lake Michigan and screamed until my throat was raw, letting out all my anger, my shame, and my defiance into the night. From that day on, my world changed. I was no longer just Leo, the guy who ran himself into the ground for a delivery app. I started using my head to make money. Leveraging my encyclopedic knowledge of the city streets and shortcuts, I teamed up with Sal and a few other guys to start our own independent courier service, focusing on direct-to-customer late-night deliveries and personal errands. We cut out the middleman, the big apps and their commissions, and dealt directly with the restaurants and clients who needed us. It was hard at first. I'd work my DoorDash shift during the day, then spend my nights handing out flyers in office parks and bar districts, pitching our service to one business owner after another. I poured all my defiant energy into the business. I was sleeping 4, maybe 5 hours a night. I lost weight, but my eyes burned with a new kind of intensity. With the first real money I saved, I rented a decent one-bedroom apartment in a building not far from Chloe's. It was still a rental, but it was clean, bright, and had its own kitchen and bathroom. I threw away the wrinkled world map and bought a whiteboard, which I immediately covered with business plans and financial goals. I was so busy, I barely had time to think about Chloe. I thought I was finally, truly moving on, until one day, I got a call from an unknown number. Is this Leo? The voice on the other end was weak, but gentle and warm. This is he. Who's calling? My hand tightened around the phone. This is Chloe Winters' mother. Oh, Mrs. Winters. Hello. I try to keep my voice even. Chloe has told me about you, she said, a hint of a smile in her voice. She said you're a very kind and thoughtful young man. I just had surgery, and I'm craving the chicken noodle soup from that old Italian deli in University Village. That girl insisted on going to get it herself, but I don't feel right about her driving alone. I was wondering, could you possibly deliver it for me? My heart hammered against my ribs. Chloe, she talked about me with her mom, and she said I was a good person. Yes, of course, Mrs. Winters. I'll go right now. I blurted out. I hung up, dropped everything I was doing, and raced out to my scooter, the one I still hadn't gotten around to replacing. I knew the deli. Chloe had sent me there once before. She said it tasted like her childhood. I got the soup, still steaming hot, and placed it carefully in my thermal bag, holding it protectively against my chest as I sped to the hospital. I saw Chloe standing outside the door to the VIP wing. She froze when she saw me, a flicker of panic in her eyes. "What are you doing here?" "Your mom called me." I held up the bag with the soup. She bit her lip and said nothing, silently pushing the door open for me. Mrs. Winters was sitting up in bed. She looked kind, and though her face was still pale, her eyes were bright. Her face lit up when she saw me, and she waved me over. "You must be Leo. Come in, sit down." She was so warm and welcoming it caught me off guard. I poured the soup into a bowl and handed it to her. She took a sip and sighed contentedly. "That's the taste. This child. She can't even take care of herself, and she still tries to be so stubborn." She glanced over at Chloe, who was now pretending to be intensely focused on peeling an apple, the tips of her ears turning red. Mrs. Winters held my hand and asked me all about my life, where I was from, what my work was like if I was tired. I answered each question, feeling awkward but sincere. Her eyes held no judgment, only the gentle concern of an elder. "Leo," she said suddenly, "that daughter of mine, we spoiled her rotten. She has a temper, but her heart is good. That whole business with the Vance family. Her father forced that engagement on her for the company's sake. She fought us on it constantly. She was miserable, but now, after this health scare, her father has finally seen the light. The engagement is off." My heart felt like it had been struck by a hammer. Off. I instinctively looked at Chloe. The hand holding the paring knife had stopped. The blade had cut a deep gash in the apple. She looked up, and her eyes met mine. And for the first time, in their depths, I saw not anger or pride, but a raw, aching vulnerability. It was a silent plea, and I had no idea how to answer it. Leaving the hospital, Chloe walked me to the elevator. "Today, thank you," she said quietly. "Your mom asked me to come." I said, keeping my distance, my tone flat. "She really likes you," she added. I didn't respond. The elevator doors dinged open, and I stepped forward. "Leo," she called out, stopping me. "Are you still angry with me?" I paused, my back to her, and let out a dry, humorless laugh. "Angry? What right do I have to be angry?" I turned to face her, looking her directly in the eye, letting all my pent-up frustration and humiliation show. "Chloe, we are not from the same world. It's over. Whether you're engaged or not, whoever you're with, it has nothing to do with me anymore. All I want now is to make a decent living and build my own life." Every word was a declaration of independence, and every word felt like I was stabbing myself. "So, you don't want me anymore?" she asked, her voice trembling on the verge of tears. In that moment, all my armor, all my carefully constructed walls, crumbled to dust. Seeing her like that, so fragile, hurt more than I could bear. I wanted so badly to rush forward, to hold her and tell her that I never stopped wanting her, that everything I was doing was just so I could one day stand beside her as an equal. But I couldn't. I wasn't there yet. I wasn't enough. I took a deep, shuddering breath, forcing back the sting in my eyes. I summoned every last bit of strength I had and spoke the cruelest words I could think of. "Right, I don't want you." Then I turned, stepped into the elevator, and jabbed the closed door button like a man escaping a fire. I thought after I said those words, it would really be the end for us. I threw myself completely into my career business. It started to take off. We rented a small office, hired a couple of people to answer phones, and I bought myself a used Ford Transit Connect, painting our company name and number on the side. I stopped wearing the blue uniform and had my own company t-shirts printed. They weren't fancy, but they were clean, and they were mine. I rarely saw Chloe. I went out of my way to avoid any place she might be. I heard through the grapevine that her mom had been discharged from the hospital, that Chloe was back at work, and that Grayson Vance was still trying to get her back, but she was shutting him down cold. The bits of news came to me like the wind, whispers I tried to ignore. I thought time would heal everything. Then one night, long after midnight, I had just finished my work for the day. I was driving my Ford van home when my phone rang. It was an unknown number. I answered. The sound of blaring music and a chaotic crowd filled my ear. A drunk man's voice slurred. "Hey, is this Leo? You gotta get down and war. Chloe Winters is here. She's wasted, and she's going crazy. Won't let anyone near her. Just keeps yelling your name." My heart dropped into my stomach. There was no time to think. I stomped on the gas, cranked the wheel, and my trusty van, my pride and joy, let out a roar as I tore through the empty streets toward the nightclub. I burst into the club and found her in a corner booth. She was slumped over the table, surrounded by a sea of empty bottles. A few guys were circling her like vultures, their intentions clear. Her hair was a mess, her makeup was smeared, and she was muttering something incoherent. "Get away from her!" I shoved my way through, pushing aside the guy closest to her and shielding her with my body. The guys looked at my aggressive stance, then probably glanced outside and saw my beat-up work van and decided I wasn't a threat. They started cursing, getting ready to make a move. I grab an empty beer bottle from the table, my eyes red with rage. I swear to God, if any of you touches her, I'll kill you. My raw, desperate fury must have gotten through to them. They exchanged a look, muttered a few more insults, and finally backed off. Only then did I kneel down, gently touching her face. Chloe, wake up. I'm here. She opened her eyes blearily. When she saw me, a slow smile spread across her face. It was the smile of a lost child who had just found their way home, pure and full of relief. Leo, she reached out and touched my cheek. You finally came. I thought you really didn't want me anymore. Tears welled up and spilled down her cheeks, hot against my hand. I called you so many times. You never answered. I texted you, and you never wrote back. I miss you so much. She sobbed, unable to catch her breath, like a child who had suffered the world's greatest injustice. They all say I'm crazy, but I just wanted to see you. Her tears shattered my heart into a million pieces. I pulled her to her feet, and she melted against me, her body limp. I supported her, guiding her step by step out of the bar. I was wrong. Leo, I was so wrong. She kept repeating into my ear. I shouldn't have said those things to hurt you. I shouldn't have treated your love like it was cheap. I'm so sorry. Please don't leave me. Okay. I managed to get her into the passenger seat of my van and buckled her in. I didn't take her home. I just drove, heading east, all the way to the lakefront where I had once stood alone and cried my heart out. I parked by the beach. The cool, damp wind blew in through the open windows. She seemed to sober up a little, quietly looking out at the dark water. Why did you bring me here? She asked, her voice raspy. The night we broke up, this is where I came to cry, I said calmly, my eyes on the dark horizon. I stood here and yelled at the lake that one day I was going to drive my own car, bring the girl I love, and watch the sunrise with her. Chloe turned her head and stared at me. The dim glow from a distant street lamp illuminated her tear-streaked face. Leo, she asked, her voice suddenly serious. Do you still love me? I was silent for a long time. Then I turned my head, met her gaze, and said, word by word, I am so fucking in love with you. Chloe stared, stunned, and then a fresh wave of tears broke free. She threw herself at me, wrapping her arms around my neck and burying her face in my shoulder, sobbing without restraint. I held her close, stroking her back, comforting my long-lost treasure. All the nights of torment, all the grit-your-teeth persistence, all the silent humiliations, in that moment, they all dissolved into nothing. We waited in that beat-up Ford van all night. As the first rays of dawn broke through the clouds, casting a golden path across the water, I kissed her. Chloe, don't ever go crazy like that again. Then don't you ever hide from me again. Deal? I took her hand, and together, we watched the sun rise over the horizon. And I smiled.